Okay, I'll start presenting myself because I have many identities. In Fitbit.com, I'm Nana H. Bach. On Instagram, I'm my dog, Lily the Lazy Cocker. On Facebook, I am Pia Thomasen. I've been there for 8-9 years. I have 400 friends. They all know it's me. I just don't want to give Facebook my data. But of course, I'm also me, Pernille Tranberg. That's me here. And I'm using my professional identity on LinkedIn, Twitter, my own homepage, and in all situations where I'm 100% professional. Because I also want a very good Google CV. So when you Google me, you get everything I want you to see about me. This is the way I work with my data, just one of the ways I work with my data. And that might sound a bit weird, but I'm not alone. Let's see if it works, this one. This one. I'm not alone. If you look at consumer trends, we are seeing, as you heard before, a lot of worry. So 7 out of 10 are worried about how their data can be abused. 7 out of 10 say it's not fair that others make money on my data. And 8 out of 10 believe that companies will sell data to third parties, which they are not supposed to do in Europe. It's not even legal. So we really see a distrust and a worry here. And actually 1 out of 3 Europeans are lying about their data, like I'm doing. Lying about the data when you want to trust yourself. One of the big websites, Lego.com, which I'll tell you about in a second, they actually ask all their kids online to use another name than their own. And that's what most of us all did before Facebook. We would use pseudonyms and aliases when we went online on different games to protect ourselves. And 34% of Danes use a different name. So it's really interesting to see that this is not 100% protection, of course, but it's one way to try and protect ourselves, to have all our digital footprints spread all over. We are also seeing that so few people feel in control of their data, which is pretty sad. It's between 10 and 15, 16% feel in control of their own data. And finally, we're seeing that people say they are comfortable. Some people, Danish people, say they're comfortable with personalization. But it all depends on how you ask the question, right? A lot of people want personalization when it's only content from, for example, a newspaper. But when it comes to ads, you don't want it. And if it's about sharing content behind your back with third-party cookies, then people say no as well. We also see generally worry that the data will be abused. And as we heard about before, about the ad blocking trend, we have more than 400 million people now using ad blockers. Well, maybe within 5 years, we'll see more people using ad blockers than using Facebook, which is really interesting. I'm going to tell you about some company cases, because I'm coming out with a book next week where I have collected 50 cases of companies trying to respond to this trend of worry and distrust. We are seeing many companies, visionary companies, using data ethics, as I call it, or privacy, as a competitive advantage. But more or less, some people are showing off, some companies are showing off, some are not. And Lego is not showing this, they're just doing it because it's a very responsible company. They don't use any third-party cookies at all on their websites where there are any children, and that's probably that's most of their customers, right? They have 50 million customers, and most of them are children. They don't use Facebook Connect. They wanted to, and they asked Facebook, so if we use Facebook Connect, what data will you grab from our website? and they didn't get any answer. So, of course, they developed their own Lego ID, which they use. They store data in Denmark and Russia, because the Russians asked them to, and they advise the children to use pseudonyms. And they just do this because they want to take care of the children. They also have to, but actually the law today is not very strict in Europe, so it's stricter. They apply to the copper law in the US. But I think it's a brilliant way of just doing it and building up trust. Another company which is very, very interesting is based in Germany, in Berlin. I want to tell you about Glow, which is an American app where young women are measuring. When you can get pregnant. How fertile are you? They're following their cycle, and this app Glow, they ask for so personal data, so private data, like what position were the man in when he ejaculated. They're giving all this kind of data to this app, Glow, which is the biggest one right now worldwide. And it's not regulated at all, because there are no doctors there are no insurance companies. In the US, health data is regulated when it's in the hands of doctors and insurance companies. This is just an app collecting so much health data. So what I'm always looking for is alternatives, and Clue is a very, very good alternative for respecting German law. It's very easy to understand their privacy policy, even though they have a privacy policy, but you understand it immediately, what they do with data. You can be totally anonymous and still not even log on and still use this app. So that's what we need to look for and try, and it's also very, very easy to use. Also, instead of using Fitbit, which I used in the beginning with my fake name, like Fitbit.com, because I read their privacy policy and I thought, my God, I'm not going to give them my data, I finally found TomTom, which is a Dutch company, you know, the GPS company. They also have a smartwatch, and go to their website and find out that it's really, really easy. They auto-delete data after 24 hours. It's very easy to understand how they use data, only for you, and you pay for it, you pay for the service, and then we know when it's coming from Holland, they might be more likely to follow the law, the European law, than if it was an American company or a Chinese company. Then there's StartMail, which I use also, or StartPage, if you know that, as a search engine, which is not tracking you. It is a Dutch mail service. You pay for it, but and what they did to be trustworthy was to get a European privacy seal called Europrice, which is the seal I know of which is most trustable for now. It was built up by a German data protection agency, and now it's private. It's very hard to get, but once you get that, you can prove that you are respecting privacy, and you have a third party who is certifying this. Then we have Brave, which you probably heard about. Brave is a new browser where they have built-in ad and content blocking, and the guy who's behind it was the CEO of Mozilla for 11 days, because he worked for Mozilla for many, many years, and many years ago he actually supported a campaign against gay marriages. He didn't want gays to marry, so he supported that, and he discussed that somewhere online. And then 10 years after, he became the CEO, and that lasted 11 days, because somebody found out that he was against gay marriages, or at least he was early on, right? So he lasted for 11 days. During the time when he supported this campaign and when he became CEO, the whole mood had changed in Silicon Valley. You know, all the CEOs, Obama, everybody was suddenly in favor of gay marriages, which is really interesting. But now he built this, built on a blockchain, which we are going to hear much more about, which I see as one of the savers in the future, and I hope it's going to really break through using the blockchain technology. It's very hard to understand, but you can understand what you can use it for. And this browser is also pretty interesting. Data for Good Foundation is a Danish startup, which is also kind of like a personal data store. What they're going to do is to gather health information in Denmark and pair it with your behavioral data. And then they will give insurance companies access to it, but only anonymized. And all individuals in this foundation will be able to use their data and optimize their health, which is what we all want, right? I guess. The final example is Wire. I don't know if you heard about that. If you are fed up with WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, which I hope you don't use, WhatsApp now is giving all the mobile phone numbers to their owner, Facebook, right? Wire is a new chat and Skype product. It's very nicely designed, and it's a Skype founder, Janus Friis, who is part of it. And I'm using it constantly now, so find me out there. It's based in Switzerland, which is, I think, a new data haven or data security haven for a lot of companies. Finally, this book, I just want to make a little ad for myself. This book is coming out in English in October, and I have collected like 50 or 60 examples of companies doing this. And if any of you have any examples, please send it to me, because I will collect it in a database. We need best practices so everybody can be inspired. This is not only the responsibility of the individual or the government, it's also the company's responsibility. Thank you.